After retiring from Major League Baseball, five-time All-Star Victor Martinez took the reins at his cattle ranch in Florida. Last year, he fulfilled another dream when he purchased his first 3 racehorses at the OBS Spring 2-Year-Old and Training Sale. In baseball, Victor always said he'd rather be lucky than good, and his racing luck came early when King Guillermo, named after his father, won the Tampa Bay Derby earlier this year. While illness kept him from his earned spot in the Kentucky Derby, King Guillermo's now pointing for the Grade 1 Cigar Mile.
My wife and I, we just love the horse racing, but we don't know any. Now we getting to know a little more about, you know, a little here, a little there, but we don't know anything about horses. You know, we just been really lucky. I used to play baseball. I used to say I'd rather be lucky than good. My agent, you know, Wilfredo Polidor, he used to own Thoroughbreds in Venezuela. I told him last year, actually, I told him, okay, Wilfredo, I'm ready, you know, to buy a couple horses. And then he find me this trainer, you know, Juan Avila. He was here, I think it was like his second year here in the United States. So I remember we sat down in that table over there and I met him and I told him, listen, you're not gonna get the horse just to go to the Kentucky Derby. You're gonna pick the horse that we're gonna win the Kentucky Derby. He looked at me like, this guy's crazy. So, I mean, I've been dreaming my whole life, you know, my whole career. And I came here with the United States with $0 in my pockets and, you know, why not keep dreaming? I think we went for 2 sales and I couldn't get anything. I remember the second one, I kind of got my eyes all worried and didn't want to cry. And I was getting frustrated. And I think I was in the third one. I want to ask, you know, outside, and they didn't let me. And you know, I went to myself and asked this guy, and that's when I bought my first horse. I couldn't buy anything on the ring. So along the way, you know, I was searching and looking, and then this Uncle Mo, and I don't know what was it, but I wanted the son of Uncle Mo. We saw one that Juan Carlos loved, and then I realized that these guys from Uncle Mo, they sell pretty expensive. I swear to God, that night I had a dream about that Uncle Mo colt. I got up that morning, walked this way. My wife was in the kitchen, and I told my wife, "Hey, can I borrow $100,000 so if I can buy the horse?" I was joking. My wife looked back to me. She was like, "Go ahead," and I was like, "For real? Go ahead. I mean, we were already into this. Go ahead." "Are you serious?" "Okay, no, 200,000 too much, but 150. And she told me, "Go ahead." And I called Juan Carlos right away. And I told Juan Carlos, I want to have something to, I don't know, honor my dad. And he told me these words: "You want to honor your dad? Put King Guillermo to this horse." "Well, you're the one that knows about this. I'm gonna follow you." He told me this is the second time in my career. He's been in the business for 35, 40 years. He has that in Venezuela. The horse turned out being a champion. So this is the second time that it happened to me. So I'm telling you that just put King Guillermo to this horse. He made his debut in 5.5 furlongs dirt. So I remember before the race, Juan Carlos told me, I never had a horse that run like him. And now that I understand a little bit more about the betting, I'm not betting either. I just love watching the race. So I think he was a 6-5. Now that I understand more, he was, you know, the big favorite of the race. Yeah. And I think it was 14 horses on that race. He came in 6, and his face was like somebody died. Like he was like, but we were happy. I just, you know, saw my colors for the first time. Then a lot of people came to me, came to Juan Carlos, and you know, he's a tough guy. You know, he doesn't like the dirt. You know, I buy my horses with the dream. I mean, I think everybody buys a horse with that dream. So I was one of them. I buy a horse with a dream to go to the Kentucky Derby. So I was like, you know, Juan Carlos, a lot of people, let's try him in grass. Wow. So we went from 5.5 furlong to a mile. And he ended up winning, I think it was like by 6 lengths. And then I was like, wow, He likes the grass for real. I mean, I was like, man, okay. We put him on he went to race a stake on a mile in grass. Again, I was an athlete before. Juan Carlos, I think he was just scared in his debut. Let's give it one more chance on dirt. And Juan Carlos looked at me and Victor, you know that a lot of people are gonna call us crazy because he's basically already told him that he likes the grass. He thought it's okay, but I wanna see him one more time. One more time in dirt. I don't care what people say. I mean, I played my whole career under criticism, so I don't care. I mean, I'm the one that pays the rent for the horse and everything. So you know what? One more time. And he told me, okay, I'm gonna look for a decent race for him. No, I don't wanna race a decent race. I want you to put him on a race that give point to the Kentucky Derby. And we choose a hard one, that Tampa Bay Derby. It was a great too. I don't care, put him in there. So we took him to Tampa, and we went over there. We were 50-1, 49-1, and it's unbelievable. They're animals, but they know when it's their turn. Like you can see their eyes. They just flip. You get that flip the switch, and here we go. It's like, for us to play the game, we know. So that competitive, it's very similar to baseball. I remember gate open, they went right in front of us. He was second. They went up front, and he was second. And I started calling Juan Carlos, because he was so in the race. And I was myself, and I was telling my wife, I think he likes the door now, because it was right there in second.
Here's King Guillermo on the outside, trying to pull a huge upset. Jansen is storming home on the outside. Inside the final furlong, do you believe this? King Guillermo at 49-1. He doesn't just win it, he wins it off impressively.
I have an idea with that race. We were close to that to make it to the Kentucky Derby. I didn't know that we were in. And then, I went down with my family, and the picture and people for an interview, and how does it feel to be in the Kentucky? What do you mean to be in it? Yeah, you in it. I'm like, what? It was crazy. We took him to Arkansas by ground, and that trip was hard for him. So when he came back, he lost around 100 pounds. So that was why you see a lot of people talking that. Yeah, he should race more. You know what? To race, you gotta be healthy. To play in a sport, you gotta be healthy. Maybe, I wanna see him. You think I don't wanna see him race more? Yes. I only have 3 horses. I wanna see him race every day. But if you can, you can. You gotta, make him right. Make him healthy. Then go race. And it's hard for me to think that a lot of people in this industrial horse doesn't understand that. For me, being an athlete, that's the most important thing. You gotta be healthy. I don't think nobody wants to race a horse when it's not healthy. I don't think so. And I have to play through a lot of injuries, sick, and I'm telling you, it's not fun. I don't think those horses deserve that. They can't talk. They at least I can go to the training room. Hey, this hurt, or I feel a fever or something. I get something, but we took King Guillermo to Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby, and he was the best we've seen him. He put all the weight back home, and he was working great. He got a fever 2 days before the race. I sent him to a clinic. I think he went to a farm in Kentucky for a little bit. And then we were trying to see if we can make it to the British Cup, but we got no time to get him ready. So we were pointing to this cigar mile, and Juan Carlos was like, but I think he saw something in his last 2 workouts that he called me. I think he told me, Vic, you know what, I think he's ready for that. We're excited just to watch him race anywhere. you know, but after what, I don't know, 8, 9 months, we got to be extremely patient, you know. I'm like, you know, just praying and hoping that everything's go right so we can watch him race again. I just named him after my dad, and you know, some people, you know, getting some offer to buy the horse and this and that, and you know, we just get attached to the horse, and it means a lot, you know, the way we got him, because I kind of reflect my career on him. He was a little guy that, if King Guillermo would have weighed 100 more pounds, we wouldn't be able to buy him. He would have cost way more money. I was the same way. When I signed at professional baseball, I was 120 pounds, 130 pounds. And I signed as a shortstop. And I only got $8,000 signing bonus. And I was just another guy that, go ahead and try it. And I put a lot of work, and that's what I said, you know, it means a lot to us and to me, because I kind of reflect my career on him. He was a little guy that a lot of people didn't pay attention to him. I say this in the Tampa Bay Derby, games has to be played, and I guess races has to be raced. I understand they gotta be some favorite here and there, but I don't believe in favorites. And believe it or not, the 2 times that King Guillermo has been favorite, he has lost both of them. He came in at 49-1, and then I think it was 9-2 when he was his first one. For me, it's just great when I hear the name of my dad on a TV, on a show or something. And you know, I talked to my mom one time, and I told my mom, you imagine that my dad is looking down, and you know.
Thank you for watching our visit with Victor Martinez. Be sure to subscribe for more content from the Thoroughbred Daily News.